They laughed at Earth's silence, mocked its isolation, called us primitives hiding behind a black veil. So we gave them a final warning: leave us alone. They didn't listen. Minutes later, 19,000 warships, the pride of the Galactic Concord, vanished without a trace. No survivors. No wreckage. Just silence. And the message echoed across the stars. We asked for peace. But now they know what happens when Earth gets serious. They laughed. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concord, the most powerful leaders of 36 species gathered in a storm of arrogance and polished steel. Screens displayed the latest surveillance footage of Earth, a planet draped in a black energy veil, utterly silent. Not a single signal had come from it in over 70 years. No ships. No trade. No war. Just one message, always the same, broadcast once per galactic cycle in every known language. We request peace. This is the final warning. A recorded voice. No origin. No face. No context. It became a meme among diplomats. A joke to be played at formal dinners and military banquets. Now, as the council convened, that same message echoed again on the walls, distorted for the last time. Grand Admiral Vortel of the Zelnor, scaled, hulking, encased in war armor, stood to address the chamber. His voice, rough and gleeful, silenced the rest. You call this a threat? He growled, pacing before the central podium. This is what we fear? A dead planet speaking from under a blanket? Snickers rippled across the tiers. One of the Vascari delegates raised a claw. Perhaps their silence is strategic. Earth has survived against odds. Please, Bortel cut him off. They nuked themselves before their first warp drive. They're an evolutionary accident, an angry species that ran out of wars to fight. Only one voice objected. Counselor Risa of the Vela Union, a long-lived race known for precise memory, rose from her corner. You fear the silence because you don't understand it, she said quietly. But I do. My predecessor served as a Vela envoy during the fall of the Hellion sovereignty. She saw Earth's ships arrive, not to join the battle, but to end it. Their intervention? Yes, Bortel laughed. They disabled the Helion systems. They shut down entire fleets. No casualties. An impressive bluff. Risa's eyes narrowed. That's not the part you should fear. After the war, no one could locate Earth's fleet again. No traces. As if it erased itself from existence. We begged them for an alliance. They declined. We asked for trade. They refused. Every time, they said the same thing: let us be. We want peace. The chamber grew still for a heartbeat. Vortel, undeterred, slammed his fist against the console. Enough fairy tales. Earth is a hole in space. And we will plug it. Operation Cinderstorm is green-lit. The first galactic fleet moves within the hour. Risa didn't argue. She merely sat, eyes distant, whispering only to herself. They asked you? They warned you. The fleet assembled above Dirix Prime. 19,000 ships in formation, a show of force unmatched in recorded galactic history. Planet Killer-class dreadnoughts led the front. Quantum lattice bombs, silent and cruel, were prepped in triple layers. 3 million crew members armed and deployed. Vortel, aboard the flagship Judicator's Blade, watched the countdown. His XO, a lean Carithian officer named Pell, approached with final scan data. Sol system remains dark, sir. The veil over Earth is stable, non-reactive. No known energy signatures, no orbital defenses. Shall we proceed? Bortel stared out the viewport. A tiny blue star shimmered on the edge of hyperspace's threshold. Begin jump, he ordered. The fleet shimmered out of space. They reappeared above Saturn's rings, then spread like a claw toward Earth. Ships locked formation, weapons charged. The veil shimmered like ink, absorbing the stars behind it. The Earth itself looked still. Wrong. As if not orbiting, but anchored. Scan the system, Bortel said. Pell frowned at the readouts. No defense grid. No traffic. But sir, I'm picking up temporal distortions. Near Titan. Defined distortions. Ripples. Like moments trying to repeat themselves. Our timestamps are out of sync. It's escalating. Before Vortel could reply, static pierced the calms. Every ship in the fleet heard it. A single sound. Heartbeat. Slow. Deep. Measured. No one spoke. Pell turned, shaken. That's not a signal. It's coming from everywhere. Engineers reported systems looping commands. AI refused orders. Pilots saw double, ships blinking in and out of visual existence. Somewhere, a ship opened fire on nothing, screaming about phantom targets. Stabilize the fleet! Vortel bellowed. A new message appeared across every console, every language, every species. We asked for peace. Pell's eyes widened. Sir, behind Earth. Something's appearing. The veil rippled like oil on fire. Then it parted. And behind it loomed the obelisk. It was not built. It was not alive. It was not moving. It was simply there. A black structure larger than Earth's moon. No energy readings. No mass. Just presence. The stars behind it bent unnaturally. Every admiral froze. The weapons aboard the fleet went silent. Not powered down, willingly disengaged. The AI refused to target. They're jamming us, one officer said. No, Pell whispered. They're deciding. Then every crew member aboard every ship heard it. Not through ears. Not through comms. In their minds. We asked for peace. In a single breath, everything ended. No light. No sound. Just the void. 19,000 ships vanished. Not destroyed. Erased. Only one ship, Wraith Echo, a malfunctioning recon cruiser, remained behind the moon, shielded by its own broken warp signature. Inside, Lieutenant Corda Vale trembled in the cockpit. Her eyes bloodshot. Her jaw clenched. She recorded a log with shaky hands, voice thin and distant. They didn't retaliate. They didn't aim. They didn't fight. They just looked. And we weren't. She sent the file, then went quiet. Back in the Concorde, a silent emergency session was called. No jokes. No laughter. Just silence. Then Earth spoke again. Every screen. Every language. This was not revenge. This was mercy. Do not return. Do not speak. Let peace be your legacy, or let your name be forgotten. No one moved. Across the stars, a single consensus was reached. Leave Earth alone. They arrived in silence. The Galactic First Armada slipped into Sol's orbit like a steel tidal wave, vast, glittering, absolute. Saturn loomed nearby, its rings fractured by gravitational displacement. Every scanner swept Earth, every ship locked into formation. And still, Earth remained mute, wrapped in its obsidian veil, orbiting its star as if nothing had changed. Admiral Vortel stood motionless on the command deck of the Judicator's blade, his gaze fixed on the veil. It wasn't natural. It didn't shimmer, didn't pulse. It simply existed, consuming all light and returning none. It wasn't hiding Earth. It was protecting something. Or warning something to stay in. Status, he barked. Pell's voice was even. No hostile activity. No transmissions. Weapons charged across the fleet. All systems green. Vortel frowned. Any breaches in the veil? None. But we're detecting echoes. What kind of echoes? Temporal. Some of our drones are returning footage that hasn't been recorded yet. Vortel turned. Say that again. Pell didn't blink. One drone recorded our fleet arriving 5 minutes before we entered the system. The Admiral waved it off. Sensor malfunction. Push forward. Initiate full-spectrum planetary scan. The AI complied. Then everything shifted. It started with a low thrum, deep beneath the range of auditory sensors. Every crew member felt it in their bones, like a pressure building in their skulls. The lights dimmed. Gravity fluctuated. Across ships, engineers scrambled to compensate for non-existent anomalies. Navigation systems froze mid-calculation. Internal clocks dissynced. Vortel slammed his fist into the armrest. Pell, what the hell is this? Pell didn't answer. He was staring out the viewport, mouth slightly open. The veil moved. Not like a wave or a curtain. It retracted, upward, downward, sideways, folding in on itself like ink swirling through water. Behind it, Earth sat unchanged, but the space around it rippled. Stars warped. Trajectories shifted. The laws they all trusted bent into something uncomfortable. Something emerged. Not from the surface. From behind the planet. A structure. Vortel leaned forward instinctively. What is that? Pell's voice dropped. No mass. No emissions. No construction lines. Then what is it? A presence. The object, if it could be called that, drifted forward. It was vast, blacker than void, featureless, yet unbearable to look at directly. Not because it blinded, but because the mind refused to comprehend it. It was not shaped. It was not anchored. It simply was. And as it came closer, the fleet shuddered. Ship after ship reported cascading system failures. Weapon locks disabled. Communications drowned in static. AI interfaces shut down completely, muttering strange words in long-dead languages before going offline. Crew members screamed about voices. About memories that weren't theirs. Some wept. Others stared blankly into nothing. The command deck darkened as the feed overloaded. Then, clear and calm, a voice rang out across every bridge, every corridor, every implanted neural node. It wasn't a voice, really. It was the idea of a voice, forming in their thoughts. We asked for peace. Vortel stood, trembling. Ignore it. Prepare to fire. On my command, every ship in the fleet, full barrage. But nothing moved. Weapons wouldn't charge. Orders weren't processed. Ships did not respond. Crews no longer listened. The obelisk, still approaching slowly, made no hostile move. Then the stars behind it twisted. And the fleet started to vanish. Not explode. Not burn. Not break. They simply ceased to be. A wave of unbeing spread like a breath. 1 second they existed, shouting, scrambling, trembling. The next, silence. Ship after ship disappeared in perfect sequence, no debris, no light, just the sudden and complete absence of mass and memory. On board the Judicator's blade, Pell turned to Vortel with hollow eyes. We should have listened. Then he vanished. Vortel reached for his pistol, as if that meant something. He screamed into the void, but there was no one left to hear. In 9.7 seconds, the Galactic First Armada was gone. One ship remained, by accident. The Wraith Echo, a stealth reconnaissance vessel with a damaged warp drive, floated silently behind Saturn's largest moon. Its pilot, Lieutenant Corda Vale, hadn't received the attack orders. Her comms were fried, and her visual systems distorted. But she saw it happen. She saw the fleet blink out like dying embers in the dark. She didn't scream. She didn't move. She just stared. Her breath came short, uneven. Her voice trembled as she recorded a log entry. Log 145-7, Lieutenant Vale reporting. Observation. Sole incident. Armada dispatched to Earth, eliminated. No resistance encountered. No engagement occurred. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. They didn't shoot. They didn't retaliate. They just existed. And we stopped. Silence. I'm not injured. At least not physically. But I don't think I came back whole. She sent the log, stared at Earth one last time, and set her coordinates for emergency return. Back in Seoul, the veil resumed its form, wrapping Earth once more like a shroud. The obelisk folded inward and vanished. The system returned to peace. No evidence remained of what had happened. No trace of war. No proof of death. Just silence. And in the heart of that silence, something still watched. The message didn't arrive by signal. It didn't ride on waves, particles, or pulses. It arrived in thought, quiet, unbidden, and unmistakable. We asked for peace. No transmission, no origin, no target. Yet every living mind within range, organic or engineered, heard it. Not as a sound, but as a presence. As if the universe had stopped briefly to whisper a warning through the bones. Lieutenant Vale clutched the armrests of her chair as the Wraith Echo remained cloaked behind Saturn's largest moon. The recon ship's damaged systems spat out static and distorted readings. Her hands trembled, but she kept recording. Protocol demanded it. Her voice barely registered above a whisper. They're not weapons. Not defenses. Not ships. That thing behind Earth, it isn't protecting them. It's subserving. She paused. Her breath caught. The veil around Earth didn't radiate energy or heat. It didn't repel, didn't defend. It simply existed, like a boundary between sanity and something deeper. I don't think we understand what we just saw, she muttered. I don't think we can. She reached for the optical scope manually, bypassing corrupted systems. Her field of vision trembled. The obelisk had moved. Not forward, not toward any object. But reality around it seemed displaced. Like space bent politely around it, accommodating rather than resisting. Even light hesitated to touch its surface. She spoke again, trying to steady herself. The fleet never stood a chance. I thought, maybe they'd initiate a full barrage. Planet strike pattern. No hesitation. But nothing happened. It didn't let them. She scrolled back through buffered feeds. What little visual data survived showed the same sequence, 19,000 ships aligned in perfect formation. Then gone. Not vaporized. Not fragmented. Simply absent. The time marker stuttered, 9.7 seconds of corrupted metadata. Then the log picked back up, as if those ships had never been there at all. She leaned forward, voice sharper now. They weren't destroyed. They were deleted. Like lines of code purged from a system. Not even debris. Not even radiation signatures. Just removed. Vale swallowed hard. Her mind itched. Thoughts spiraled faster than she could catch them. Something about what she'd seen didn't just defy physics. It mocked it. She played the message again. We asked for peace. Each time she heard it, something new embedded itself inside her. An image, a memory, a feeling that didn't belong to her. A battlefield soaked in silence. A soldier who never fired but ended wars. A world split in half by willpower alone. Earth's history wasn't recorded in weapons. It was recorded in restraint. She spoke again, faster this time. We thought they'd gone dormant. Disarmed. That Earth had turned inwards and died in the dark. But that silence? That was the scream we missed. She paused, then shook her head. No. It wasn't a scream. It was a warning. Not to stay away because they feared us, but because we didn't understand what they became. We kept looking for fleets. We didn't think to fear the silence itself. Her sensors twitched. Something was shifting near the veil. She adjusted focus. The obelisk turned. Not visibly. Not physically. But she felt it, like the attention of a colossus that didn't blink. A pressure behind her eyes. Not pain. Recognition. It saw her. Knew her. Not as a threat, not as a spy, but as a witness. I don't know if it's mercy or a lesson. Maybe both. She activated the emergency beacon. The transmission would take hours to reach the Concorde's closest relay. But she had to try. Her fingers danced over the controls, bypassing corrupted protocols, feeding in voice, data, everything she had. She hesitated before hitting send. Then she spoke one final line. You wanted to see Earth's power. What you saw was its restraint. The beacon flashed once. Then the console went black. No warning. No damage. Just darkness. She held her breath. Waited. The ship didn't break. The obelisk didn't move again. The veil swallowed Earth once more, folding back into stillness, as if it had never stirred. Veil sat in the dark, heart pounding. No fleet would come to rescue her. No backup would charge in shouting vengeance. Not anymore. Whatever Earth had unleashed, it wasn't a threat. It was a decision. Not to fight. To correct. She closed her eyes and whispered the words that echoed through every corridor of every surviving outpost once her message spread. They didn't fight back because they didn't need to. We were never a war to win. We were a mistake to undo. And then she waited. Not for rescue, but for permission to leave. The message hit the Concorde like a silent meteor. No alarm, no explosion, no visible cause, just sudden, crushing understanding. One moment, the most powerful fleet in known history had been en route to Earth. The next, every ship, every soul aboard it, every atom they displaced in the void, gone. Deleted. And yet the message was clear. The lone surviving feed from the Wraith Echo, recovered from deep space compression data, looped endlessly in every command center, every intelligence hall, every war room. They didn't shoot. They didn't warn again. They just removed us. Lieutenant Corda Vale's voice played like a funeral hymn across the stars. Unedited. Unfiltered. Uncomfortably calm. The footage attached with her message was incomplete, corrupted around the edges, but what remained was impossible to refute. Ships blinking out of reality, not destroyed but unmade, their places and times severed like threads cut mid-stitch. She described the obelisk not as a weapon but as a will, a force that did not act out of emotion but out of necessity. For the first time in galactic history, the Concorde did not issue a response. Not officially. Privately, the ruling caste fractured. Dozens of systems refused new fleet assignments. Military AIs began resisting orders involving human contact. Religious sects formed around the Earth's silence, some worshipping, others pleading for forgiveness. At the core of the panic sat a truth that refused to be silenced. Humans had evolved beyond war, not by forgetting how to fight, but by remembering too clearly what it cost to keep doing so. Earth hadn't been hiding. It had been healing. And when provoked, when prodded and poked for too long, it hadn't lashed out. It had responded with finality. The kind of response no one was prepared to believe even as it stared them in the face. In a hidden bunker on the Vela homeworld, Risa sat with the prime diplomat of the Concorde. His hands trembled as he reviewed the same transmission for the third time. Around him, aides spoke in hushed tones, as if sound might draw Earth's attention again. She told us, Risa said softly. He didn't respond. They gave us one message. Peace. That was it. Over and over for years. And we answered with arrogance. Force. And now, he exhaled. We don't even know what they used. If it was a weapon. If it was them. Risa's expression didn't change. That's what frightens you. You always believed power could be measured. But what if their power is simply the choice not to use it? He looked up, meeting her gaze. Do you think they'll act again? They didn't act this time, she answered. They judged. Silence returned. Meanwhile, back on Earth, no celebration echoed through the stars. No gloating, no second message. No broadcasted ultimatum. The world remained quiet. But beneath the ice of Antarctica, where even the oldest Concorde sensors had never pierced, a chamber awoke. Smooth black walls absorbed every frequency. Not a single line of code moved within it, yet decisions unfolded with the weight of galaxies behind them. At the center stood the Council of Silence. Not leaders. Not generals. Witnesses. Keepers of something ancient. Not weapons, not ships, but reminders. We held Protocol 1, said the Warden of Mars, arms folded behind his back. No escalation. A second figure nodded. But they were seconds from forcing Protocol 2. If Vale hadn't survived, if the obelisk hadn't waited. Another voice joined them. If they had pressed deeper, fired even once, we wouldn't be speaking. The Warden turned to the others. Is it containment or mercy? Both, someone whispered. And discipline. They watched the stars now not in fear, but in vigilance. Send nothing, the warden ordered. No replies. Let them tremble. Let them remember what they almost unleashed. And if they don't? The warden's voice was colder now. Then they meet what we buried on the moon. Across the stars, governments fell. Treaties rewritten. Military budgets collapsed overnight. Civilizations too proud to apologize now scrambled to demonstrate reverence. Shrines were built not to worship, but to appease. Not a single Concord ship entered Sol again. The void around Earth became sacred. Yet through it all, humanity remained silent. No demands. No retaliation. No boast. The Concord's finest minds still tried to decode the logic behind Earth's action. How could a species capable of such destruction exercise such restraint? Why send only one message across time and space, never more, never less? No one could agree. But the truth was simple. Earth had learned. It had learned that wars end, but consequences don't. That silence can speak louder than conquest. That strength isn't just power, it's patience. And when the galaxy finally pushed too far, Earth didn't raise its voice. It simply made a decision. The same message continued to echo in every known language, on every known channel. No longer a warning, now a memory. We asked for peace. No one would forget again. The last transmission from Earth arrived not as a broadcast, but as a presence. There were no sounds, no symbols, only thought, echoing directly into the minds of those who still held authority across the stars. It was neither violent nor cruel. It was deliberate, unshakable. This was not revenge. This was mercy. The message didn't threaten. It concluded. The Galactic Concord fell into stunned inertia. Dozens of worlds halted all interstellar traffic. Fleets returned to dry dock without orders. Some outposts initiated shutdown procedures out of fear their signals might provoke another response. The obelisk had vanished, but its absence weighed heavier than its presence ever had. In a secure Concord chamber, 10 surviving council leaders sat in silence. No one spoke for a long time. No one dared. Finally, the Vascari High Admiral, a war-hardened veteran of 6 border crusades, broke the stillness. What do we do? The question, once unthinkable, hung in the air like a confession. Risa of the Vela, still exhausted from weeks of frantic containment diplomacy, closed her eyes and exhaled. We stopped pretending we're the center of anything. They didn't retaliate. They corrected, said another. They erased a fleet without firing a shot. And now they say it was mercy. Risa opened her eyes. They're not at war with us. They're beyond it. One delegate laughed bitterly. Then what are we to them? Noise, she answered. Until we became dangerous enough to matter. They began dismantling the remaining plans for retaliation. The last war fleets were ordered to stand down. No official treaties were signed. There was no ceremony. Only unspoken compliance. In the following cycles, reports trickled in of ancient ruins activating on abandoned planets. Symbols etched into alien moons glowed faintly. Across the edges of known space, relics once thought to be myth revealed themselves as warning markers, all bearing the same phrase in every language ever encountered. Let them rest. Concord scientists tried to analyze what the obelisk had been. Nothing definitive emerged. It defied mass, logic, and math. The leading theory was unsettling in its simplicity. It was not a weapon, but a lens, amplifying the will of a planet that no longer needed to justify itself. Humanity never answered any inquiries. They never sent another signal. Their veil remained in place. Earth spun quietly around its star, refusing visitors, refusing contact, refusing explanation. The absence became permanent. The galaxy had no choice but to adapt. On a cold asteroid observatory orbiting a dead star, Lieutenant Corda Vale lived under protection. Her mind, once sharp, now wandered between clarity and silence. Doctors scanned her daily, but nothing ever seemed damaged. Just quieted, as if some part of her had been shown a truth it could never explain. Sometimes she spoke without prompting. "I wasn't spared," she whispered once. "I was chosen." They asked her what she meant. "To remember." When pressed further, she said nothing. The story of the fleet's disappearance became mandatory learning in Concord academies. Not as a cautionary tale, but as a reminder. Entire systems restructured their philosophies. No longer built around conquest, but containment. Expansion was slowed. Exploration redefined. Curiosity, once a virtue, now carried a disclaimer. In time, new generations came. The terror faded slightly, replaced by something quieter, reverence. Some called it evolution. Others called it survival. But one truth remained. Earth had not made demands. They had not claimed dominion. They had not returned fire. And that was what terrified the galaxy most. In a hidden vault beneath the Martian surface, a being sat in a solitary chamber, untouched by time. Once human, now something more, its mind woven with ancient code, its body fused with nanostructures no longer understood. Its eyes remained closed. It waited. Across from it, a monitoring unit hummed faintly. A line of text pulsed once before fading. Protocol 1 complete. No action followed. No lights shifted. No motion stirred. But if one listened closely, far below where machines dared operate, past the crust and into the engineered silence, one might hear breath. Patient. Calm. Not asleep. Not forgotten. Just waiting. Back in orbit, Earth rotated peacefully. Its skies blue, its clouds slow, its cities veiled beneath layers of bio-shielded camouflage. The planet did not blink. Did not burn. It lived in stillness. And somewhere, in that silence, something remembered what it was capable of. But for now, it chose peace.